Hi, I'm Jason Mars. I'm a professor of computer science and engineering at University of Michigan. I'm also an entrepreneur. I've created a number of companies that have been quite successful. I'm a member of the Caribbean diaspora. So I was born in Jamaica. I grew up in Guyana. Both my parents are Guyanese, and came to the US, but I'm very, very engaged in a number of projects, important, large projects in the Caribbean. In multiple countries of the Caribbean, actually. Anyway, so today I'm going to be talking about artificial intelligence, technology, and its relationship with public policy and media. How we look at, these interesting worlds and how they're connected and how they will evolve. So public policy is an interesting thing, right? It's really the development of laws, it's the development of systems and institutions that support and maintain the interconnectedness of society, right? Of groups, of communities, right? It captures our intuitions about the mores and folkways and what justice is. It captures those and formalizes it in a way that aligns every member of that community, of a community. And so it's an incredibly important thing, and societies that work particularly well, I might have a bias, is ones that have an open media, a free media, right? A media that is not regulated too much, okay? Although sometimes a little bit is needed so that they're honest, but not regulated too much, right? So it's very important. And the thing is, the nature of our world is changing because of technology, because of artificial intelligence. Now, right now, AI are not citizens. So we don't have a world where we have to grapple with the concepts of what happens if you create a new kind of citizen that is an AI. That's long term. I think we're heading in that direction, but that's long term. Right now, artificial intelligence is a set of technologies that lets us extract value from the copious amounts of data and communications, create insights. It accelerates our ability to take advantage of all of the digital and technological capacities we have. It's an accelerant to technology today, a facilitator that's continuing this crazy rate of innovation that's going on. Now, here's an issue. The rate of innovation that's happening is fundamentally changing the fabric of what a society is and how it works. And I can't understate how fundamental this change is. I'm going to talk about what that changes, but it's absolutely alien to anything we've experienced as a species, as humans, for the 13,000 odd years that we've been in the human form that we recognize today, right? In those 13,000 years, a community was defined and predicated by proximity, by geographic proximity. That was it, right? A community in Saudi Arabia developed itself and its public policy, its social mores, its social folkways, based on each other in that location. Canadians had no bearing on that pre-internet, pre-tech, as we know it today, right? So that's fundamental. I mean, we have states in the US. We have these states, and if you observe different states, they're so different. Their laws are different, and it's defined by the borders that define the states, right? This transcends. This actually works at many granularities. You'll have little communities, little neighborhoods, pre-internet, pre-tech, right? That develops themselves and their public policy at that granularity based on the proximity, right? And it was fluid. It changed. It changed rapidly. It changed over time. Okay, like new sensibilities would emerge, and then public policy changed. Public policy is a living thing. that it's never complete for any particular thing. So time would create this kind of impermanence. There was an impermanence to the policies that we recognize. And policies almost certainly, media had an integral role to play in the formation and development of that. Once we got good at sharing information through papers and through journalism, that allowed for a channel to create social truths. And those are distinct from true truths, as we all know today. The truths in one group may be different than the truths in another. But the media was a very important element, substrate, that created a unified notion of truth. Okay, good. So that's the landscape. Now, the issue is, fundamentally, public policy trails science. It trails innovation, right? Because science innovation comes from experts and has been moving at a rate so rapid, it's outpaced the development of the formal representation of social mores and folkways and so forth. So I mentioned that now we're at a massive change historically in what societies look like. There's two reasons. One, the geographic proximity has less and less bearing very rapidly on what a society is, what a community is. Indeed, today, this is manifested even in the work world. Now we have organizations that have no physical location. We have organizations where all the employees span countries, span societies, span communities, right? That is enabled by the incredible pace of technology that we have today. So what does that mean, right? That now we have societies that are blending into a global one society that's interconnected. Thank you, internet, right? So that's one big fundamental difference that we have never grappled with before. And public policy is trailing that, and the way our media works is trailing the new realities that bears. Another key difference is the permanence of all activities that are expressed through digital means. Now, here's an interesting thing. Right now, we're on a trajectory where more and more of all of our interactions, more and more of all of our activities, all of our work product, all of our social interactions, we're on a trajectory where that's moving into this new fabric. It's not the geographic fabric of communities, it's the digital fabric. And there's a permanence there. And that's changing many things. So, I mean, everyone knows the story about the potential editor, the editor candidate for Teen Vogue, right? Young, brown female, right? Great opportunity, incredibly prestigious to be an editor of a big magazine. The day she got hired was the day she was fired. Why was she fired? She was fired because when she was a teenager in high school, she made a couple inappropriate tweets. Inappropriate in today's sensibilities, right? There was a permanence to her tweets that created consequences, real massive consequences for her in a today world. And those tweets were things like, she said a couple inappropriate things like, oh, that's gay. She was referring to something and she described it as gay, which at the time had a different level of acceptability than today, right? And then she also said something about Asian eyes. Like she was like, oh man, I'm so bloated or I'm so swollen in my face or something that it looks like I have Asian eyes, something like that. And that's also not okay in today's sensibilities, but was perhaps different when she was a teenager in high school. So this is an interesting phenomenon, right? Before we had this new fabric of society, right? all of our interactions were fleeting and forgotten. What I said, I can't tell you one thing I said in high school that I remember. You know, like, and I'm positive if there was a permanent a medium that kept everything I said in high school, anyone would find something. Now, this is actually the world. Here's what's interesting things. A lot of the folks who are already established are not going to be as affected by this as the current generation of high schoolers and young people, because there was no real internet when I was in high school that recorded everything. Like, there were a couple of websites, but there wasn't social media. Our interactions didn't happen primarily through digital means. And if those were, and we had email. Email was actually more private, right? So it wasn't a record of everything. So there's these two phenomena. Now our societies, the sensibilities that come from a geographic location as to what the social policies should be, are no more in a digital landscape, because now we have to have a much broader sense of what policies make sense, right? In Afghanistan, in Saudi Arabia, in some countries, you can't have a picture of the deity. You can't. I don't think you can have any picture of the deity, much less one that is, pejorative. In Jamaica and in Guyana, you can have whatever picture, in America, free speech, right? So, but what if you are in Afghanistan and you're on Slack or whatever in your email, and someone sends you something that's okay in their geographic location but not okay in yours? Like, how do we acknowledge that that is the trajectory of where we're going? And when it comes to permanence, how does media work? Very soon, the established folks are going to all have this permanence to what they did when they were in high school and beyond. Okay, so we will emerge, new presidential candidates, new leaders, right, will emerge that has this permanence. Is media, it'll be a field day for media, right? Because all you have to do, if you're a media person, perhaps, if our policies don't change, if our sensibilities as to how our laws work doesn't change, any aspiring, journalist can just go through the list of all the leaders and go see everything they did when they were in high school. And our world is going to accept it. And if our world doesn't change with the kind of cancel culture sensibilities we have now, oh, it's gonna be a bloodbath. Everyone's gonna get canceled left and right. I don't know how you can have a president. It's a wild world we live in today. And so what does this mean? Well, my goal with this, with sharing this perspective, sharing this lens on what's going on, is we as a society need to be thoughtful about this. We need to catch up. We need to catch up when it comes to the sensibilities as to how justice needs to work, and our sensibilities to how the processes for how we develop policy, right? We also need to be thoughtful as media as to what is okay and not okay now in this world, right? How do we treat information giving its permanence? Should we have an expiry date to things that manifest themselves in that new fabric that remembers all, right? And with AI, our ability to recall that memory is going to increase. With AI, one day, you may just say, oh, that presidential candidate, that awesome, female brown person, hey, computer, what kind of raunchy stuff can you find on her? Or, this new candidate that's a young guy who looks like he's really smart. Oh, you send me all the worst pictures you can find of him and just shoot it to my inbox. So we're going to accelerate our ability to access that information on that fabric, on that digital fabric that is defining society more and more. We have to be thoughtful about this as we engage public policy, as we engage this world. So I'm way over time. I hope it's okay to be 5 minutes over, but it was an absolute pleasure sharing some of these thoughts. And I would love to kind of hear from anyone. Feel free to reach out to me through our digital means. Remember, it's gonna be permanent. No, I'm just joking. And thank you all, and looking forward to great conversations to come. Thanks.